Sometimes the publicity stunts we pull can take even me by surprise. Tony WoolliscroftGetty In the following excerpt from Finding My Virginity, Richard Branson recounts his experience during one of Virgin Mobile's publicity stunts. In 2000, he was tied to a helicopter by bungee cord and flew 100 feet below it across the Sydney harbour. Mid-flight, he realized he was headed straight toward the side of the bridge. Just when he thought he would smack into it and die, the helicopter lifted him up at the last second. Sometimes the publicity stunts we pull can take even me by surprise. That was the case with the launch of Virgin Mobile in Australia. By November 2000, Virgin Mobile UK had more than 500,000 customers and scooped Mobile Choice's Network of the Year award. Not bad, since we didn't actually have a network. As the Aussie public had embraced our airline so quickly, it made sense to strike while the iron was hot and launch a second mobile company down under. As in Britain, we found an established company, Optus, and agreed on a partnership using their network infrastructure and Virgin's branding and customer experience. And, as with the launch of Virgin Mobile in the UK, we wanted an event to get people talking. The first inkling I got that something unusual was going on was when I was picked up from my hotel, the Holiday Inn in Potts Point, Sydney. I got into a car with Chief Marketing Officer Jean Wang, Peter Bike-Manis and Catherine Salway for a briefing. I presumed we would be driving to the harbour, but instead we started heading out of the city and into the countryside. I thought we were going to do the launch next to Sydney Harbour, I said. Yes, we are, said Jean, a little too nervously. As the others in the car exchanged sideways looks, I could tell something was up. The next thing I knew we had arrived in an empty field. It seemed an unusual and unpopulated venue for a business launch. Then I heard the whoop 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 of helicopter blades. That made more sense. I stood back in the full force of the wind as the helicopter landed next to the car. I think I get the picture. I was about to climb into the helicopter when Jean pulled me to one side. Richard, we probably should have told you this earlier. Jean stood back as one of the helicopter crew put a harness on me. You're not actually going in the helicopter. You're going to fly 100 feet under it. That was a new one. I could feel my heart beginning to thump, but nothing ventured and all that. The helicopter crew told me to lie flat on the ground. As I lay down in the soft warmth of the grass, I could feel a bungee rope being attached to my waist. Courtesy of Richard Branson. Penguin Random House. Keep still, I was told. Keep your head down. As I lay there, I could hear the blades were into action. I was just wondering what Joan would make of my current predicament when, with a jerk, I was lifted off the ground. As I went up, I spun around and around uncontrollably fast. I tried to get myself into a skydiving position, arms and legs spread-eagled. My face had a fixed expression somewhere between bemusement and, I suspect, terror. Probably closer to terror, thinking about it. Finally, I got the hang of it, and now we were really moving. I was flying forward through the air, 100 feet below the helicopter at a rapid rate. Over the years, I have often had dreams where I am flapping my arms and flying. Sometimes I soar around Necker, smelling the ocean air. Other times I fly up into space, looking down at the pale blue dot of Earth. Usually, however, I am looking down along Oxford Street, where our first Virgin record store was, knowing that if I stopped I would crash. I swoop down, knock somebody's head off and zoom back upward. Occasionally I wake up falling. This was as close as I'd get to my dreams in reality. I've never had a more exhilarating experience in my life. I worked out that if I dropped my arm on either side I could even control my direction, to a certain extent. As we approached the city I began to enjoy myself, waving to confused-looking people far below, and feeling more like Peter Pan than ever before. This is what being a bird must feel like, I thought to myself. The next thing I knew, the imposing structure of Sydney Harbour Bridge was approaching fast in front of me. I tried dropping my arms as I'd just taught myself, but it wasn't going to be enough. I tried shouting to the helicopter pilot to climb higher, but that was just as futile. There was no way he could hear me. Higher, higher, I shouted. I'm going to hit the bridge. I was sure of it. What a way to go, I thought, zooming across the sky in a harness before, splat a face-first collision with one of Australia's most iconic constructions, like Wile E. Coyote in a Looney Tunes cartoon. At what felt like the last possible second, the helicopter veered upward and I narrowly avoided becoming a permanent addition to the side of the bridge. I barely had time to catch my breath as we zipped across it, low enough for me to see the astonished expressions of the bridge walkers looking up. Finally, we landed on top of a giant cage structure next to Sydney Opera House. I was bursting with adrenaline, pumped up after everything I'd just been through. Inside the cage, people were dressed in the colors of all of our rivals. There were lots in Australia's highly competitive mobile market. They were wearing handcuffs to signify the long contracts they were locked into by the likes of Vodafone and Telstra, and singing, "Set us free, set us free." I set off some explosive bolts. The cage collapsed and the customers were freed. I thought I was a goner for a minute there, I told Jean afterward. "I'm very glad you weren't," she said reassuringly. "We hadn't managed to get you insured." Excerpted from Finding My Virginity, the new autobiography by Richard Branson, now on sale from Portfolio, an imprint of Penguin Publishing Group, a division of Penguin Random House, LLC. Copyright 2017 by Richard Branson.